What is the Matrix?
Your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
All right. Welcome to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Individual Experience. I am your host tonight, as always, bringing you the kind of video, in-depth knowledge and information that many people don't talk about. They don't want to talk about it, either because they're ignorant to the facts or they are afraid of being labeled crazy for speaking such things. But they are going to label you crazy anyway, so you might as well speak the truth and expose the things that has been going on in this society. And whichever country you are in, if you are being targeted by that country's governments, its security agencies, law enforcement agencies, for the purpose of covering up non-consensual human experimentation, exposing it is the best way to bring awareness. Okay. So tonight I have a very special video planned. I was just here just thinking, what kind of video should I do? And then it came to me, you know what? Since I've read Angels Don't Play This Harp by Dr. Nick Begich, let's read a chapter in his book, Controlling the Human Mind, the Technologies of Political Control, or Tools for Peak Performance. And then I'm going to show you guys some declassified documents from the CIA through the Freedom of Information Act that talks about mind control, experimentation, the development of tools, drugs, weapons, particularly those that use microwave and radio wave frequency for the purpose of mind control. So again, these things are documented, right? It is not just me saying this, but it is documented. You can go to the CIA website. As a matter of fact, if you go to the blackvault.com, I can't really remember, you find a plethora of declassified documentation out there. All right. So here we go. Dr. Nick Begich, Controlling the Human Mind. And let's go to, let's see here. Just let me do this. There we go. Here, let's see. Where was I? All right. I got to get to my bookmark. Let's see, we are there now. And I'm just trying to navigate through this. Okay. The manipulation of emotion and mind. The science of affecting, and matter of fact, let me, that should be fine, hopefully. So The science of affecting emotional states and other aspects of consciousness was advancing in the public sector as well. A number of breakthroughs were being made in the 1980s and 1990s for enhancing human performance. Robert Monroe filed 2 patents in the early 1990s that were intended to be used by average people for enhancing individual human performance. Monroe developed a series of audio CDs, for use in behavior modification. He created through a combination of binaural beats when 2 different sound signals are introduced, one in each ear, and impose average EEG signals through stereo headsets as a way to cause a frequency following response, FFR. FFR is where the brain begins to follow the pulse rate of the device that is creating the signal. What was found was that by looking at the average brain activity of a number of individuals who could exhibit very specific brain states, their brain signal could be imposed on others and their effect amplified by binaural beats. Use of sound for inducing brain state is a bit tricky because we cannot hear below a certain frequency. These lower frequency are created inside the head when 2 different sound signals are introduced in each ear. Binaural beats, a cancellation effect is created when a sound enters one ear at, say, 15,000 hertz pulse per second, and the other ear at 15,007, leaving a beat frequency of 7 hertz. As an example, when the beat frequency is created, the brain follows the signal, mimicking its pulse rate. In this example, the whole brain is activated at 7 hertz. A look at the brain indicate that in this state, energy is distributed from a more balanced way on both sides of the brain. Both hemispheres of the brain begin to work together in a manner that allows for optimum performance of mental function. They are synchronized. I talk about that a lot, the synchronization. You guys will hear me say that in a lot of my videos. They will put you through synchronization. So, for example, I talk about when I'm in the house, I get up in the middle of the night, and somebody in the apartment will also get up to go to the bathroom, right? Or they will wait in the hallway, pacing back and forth. Then I wake up, and then as I get out of bed, I can hear them walking back and forth. And as soon as I go to exit out my bedroom, they will run into the bathroom, right? And this happens quite often. Or used to happen quite often. Still happens, but not so much. Okay. Other audio materials were developed by Monroe based on these observations and the use of the technology, with tens of thousands of people over the years have proven its effectiveness. Some of these material include not just sound signal, but voice as well. These are used to anchor ideas related to behavioral modification that may be desired. The technology can be used to lose weight, stop smoking, improve meditation, relaxation, and other uses. The HemiSync system was developed by Monroe as outstanding tools for self-improvement and increasing our general capacity as people. In the United States, patent number 4889526, another method and apparatus was developed to reduce pain using pulse electromagnetic signal that cause ion flow in the nervous system in a manner that reduce the perception of pain in the body. The creator says that this invention relates to an electronic apparatus which is capable of generating a magnetic field that is precisely tuned in order to interact with the brain and heart in order to pace the heart and also interact with the nervous system in order to counteract pain, William Bass, the inventor of this technology, was interested in looking at the effect of low levels of energy on people. He has published a 1978 article where he concluded that very low power density RF can interfere with the normal brainwave patterns of human. And if these patterns are meaningful in terms of mood and behavior, then RF affect these parameters as well. This is, again, one of the early calls for caution in this area of science during a time of greatly increased levels of radio frequency RF energy being added to the environment by new communication system used throughout the world. Now, when I think back, okay, I'll give you an example. So in 2002, it was the beginning of 2002, right? My son and his mom and me, we went to the island of Antigua. And I talked about this before, where I was on the beach, and then something says, look up. And as I looked up, there was a SUV, right, that stopped in the middle of the road immediately as I looked up. So talk about synchronization. And this guy got out of the SUV and just left it there and walked off. He just walked off. Now, the road, you can hear the vehicle because it was pretty far, but you can see. But as I look up, something just says, look up, and I turned and I looked at the road. And immediately as I did that, the vehicle stopped in the middle of the road. The guy got out and walked off. And I just said to myself, wow, that was strange. I didn't realize at the time what was happening. Just as I talked about, when I was dating, I went to visit, someone that I'd met. And I'm walking in the hallway of her apartment building. And as I'm walking past a particular apartment, the door opened. There was a guy who opened his door, looked at me, and then slammed the door shut. Okay? Now, I, again, thought it was strange. I thought maybe she was seeing that guy, got women, men living in an apartment building, they're single, what have you, who knows, right? But I didn't think about it because I just met her. So, that was that, right? There have been incidents that, again, because me not understanding what has happened and what was happening with my twin brother, that his probably being in his present, right, with the use of these technology, because they're definitely using it on him, and I can tell, right, because we were talking when I was talking about my target, and he was like, man, the same thing was happening to me, and no one would believe me, and then we got in touch with other TIs on these talk show calls, and our experience, for the most part, were the same. We had some other TIs that was like so psychologically damaged, or they could have been perps sent into the chat room to discredit and, bringing up all these sort of off the wall wild, things that they were saying. And, that was when I also decided that, I need to do my own show because I need to stop some of these perps from engaging in discrediting campaign, particularly on these calls. And at the time, we were trying to get journalists to come on these calls to listen to what we were saying. All right. And so I started my own talk program. Also, there was another TI that I had met who also pushed me to do my own show, but she was more into the religious thing, right? But she did provide some very vital information for me and for a lot of TIs. Okay, and then there were FSCHS, Freedom from Covert Harassment. Derek, I forgot his last name. But anyhow, it turned out that he used to work for the CIA. And he became a target, right? So that was a, weird thing. But then, again, you look at Dr. Robert Duncan, who worked for the CIA also. He became a target. Anybody who's worked on these sort of programs, when they retire or have worn out their usefulness, they become targets, right? So, yeah. So, so it was just some really, really weird stuff that was happening. Like, for example, I talk about when I went on dates, how my dates used to show up when I go to meet them, and they would have a white piece of paper, like a printed paper, 8.5 by 11 sheet. And they would literally hold it where they'll have their middle finger pointing on the other side of the printed paper, but facing me, right? So imagine you take a 8.5 by 11 sheet of printed paper, you put it in between your fingers, but your middle finger is on the outside and your other finger's on the inside, and they're just holding this paper. And this happened quite a few times, right? And it was just weird. It was just really, really weird, right? Again, not understanding what was going on, being totally confused, and you tend to ignore it because you've been told you have a mental illness and all this stuff, right? At the time, I was diagnosed with paranoid delusional personality disorder, right? But I never really believed that. I think my brother never really believed his diagnosis too, because even when he was taking the medication, it was still happening. And how it was happening, whenever he would engage in any sort of business creation, just like I was, then the targeting would be just as heavy. And as I talked about business creation, guess what I hear? All right. So this is some of the things that they were doing, sabotaging. And again, we didn't think anything about it because we were young, ignorant, didn't know all this stuff was happening. Okay, just like a lot of us when we were younger. And this is why today I try to tell young people the truth so that they understand. I don't sugarcoat nothing. And as I said, tell young people the truth I hear. And so, of course, they don't want, older black men and black women telling young black men and black women the truth. Because then when they know the truth, it makes it harder for the racists. And again, as I talk about young black people telling them the truth, right? It makes harder for these racists on the police, the predator departments all across the United States to entrap them, to engage in using technology to manipulate them, using psychological covert warfare and covert warfare, covert drugging, and all sorts of things that they do behind the scenes. And, I've always said that, not me personally, but I think it was it Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he talked about this racist government, that if they can put every black male in prison, they would do that. I'll give you a criminal record, they would do that. And that's what they've been doing for decades, giving, a lot of black men and black women criminal records. And they have created programs in which they can do that and be absolved from any sort of responsibility because it's been done covertly. It's being done by using technological weapons that we are deceived into believing does not exist. And as I shared the article with Dr. Jose Delgado from the New York Times in 1970, right? The creation of what he called the STEMO receiver, right? Which is a microchip implant that he placed under the skin of a rhesus monkey and were able to control the behavior of that animal. Okay, and we saw the video with the matador and the bull, in which the bull had a brain implant and Dr. Delgado had a remote control, and as the bull was chasing the matador, he pressed the button and the bull stopped in its track. Okay, so, and as I said, stop right here. Okay, so, and what they do, particularly when I'm doing these videos, because they know I'm going to bring up information that they don't want people to know about. This is what they'll engage in, right? Knowing full well what they have done and what it is that they've been doing. Knowing full well that they've been using mind control technologies, particularly radio wave or microwave frequency signals, to manipulate our brains and our minds, basically, right? So, let me just, the heart and also interact with the nervous system in order to counteract pain. William Bass, the inventor of this technology, was interested in looking at the effect of low levels of energy on people. He had published a 1978 article where he concluded that very low power density RF can interfere with the normal brainwave patterns of human. And if these patterns are meaningful in terms of mood and behavior, then RF affects these parameters as well. This is again one of the early calls for caution in this area of science during a time of greatly increasing levels of radio frequency RF energy being added to the environment by a new communication system used throughout the world. An additional pattern was also found to be particularly interesting, concerns the use of either very low or very high frequency audio signals for delivering subliminal information. And this is what they do with me. So when you guys see me walking outside, and then, like I said, I start to experience that fixation drill that I feel, where I'm looking at certain things that I would normally look at, like my eye, and it usually ends up being in some form of messaging, right? So this is what I'm talking about, because again, of the microchip. So it's BCI, as I said, microchip. Okay. Now remember, you don't need to be implanted for them to use the silent sound spectrum technology on you. Okay. What the microchip is used for is not only so that they can send you messages and also control body function and monitor body function, but it also to induce negative thoughts, but also to transmit your response, right? So how are they reading your body function? Okay, I'll give you an example, right? When my son was born, they were telling me that, send me a subliminal message that they microchipped my son, right? So I would go pick him up on my weekend, and he would say, "Dad, I gotta pee," right? And we would go to a McDonald's, and as we enter that McDonald's parking lot, there will be one or two perps standing there giving us the hand signal, either tapping their nose or sticking their finger in their ears. We get to the bathroom, and then he tells me he doesn't have to pee. Okay? And this used to happen quite frequently, right? And I remember I used to get real mad, and whenever I used to get real angry, they would monitor my emotions, and they would be tapping their nose or pinching their nose or sticking their finger in the air. This is the type of things that they would do to try to subdue my anger, right? Because they know what they were doing. And so, like I said, when I was going through this, I said to myself, I need to study this. I need to study what it is that they're doing. I need to record it. I need to expose it. Because I'm not going to let them get away with it. You know, also, like my daughter, I used to have these very painful pain in my nose. Not really in my nose, but let's say my usually happens most of the time on my left nostril. And when I touch it, it would be excruciating painful. And my daughter has been experiencing that also. Okay? All right. So again, they're going to say, oh, I'm crazy and this and that for saying these things, but I am not. Okay? A lot of us are being microchipped. Our children, family members are being microchipped because they're trying to control us in such a way that if we have any sort of revolutionary mindset, if we know the truth and we're angry about the truth because of the lies that they've been taught to us, the deception, that they need some way to prevent the masses of people from rebelling. Okay? And this is how they're doing it. This is how they're doing it. So, as I said, doing it right here. No, I'm not going to do it. I know what y'all want me to do. It's not working, though. You guys have to make the move. That's all. You have to make the move. You do it. Okay? You have all the power, the resources. You do it. All right? Because, again, they'll keep sending you a subliminal message about do it. Right? Because they want you to do something to where, again, they can get rid of you, either kill you, incarcerate you, institutionalize you, so that they can, hide the truth, right? Again, I understand the way the dark triad personality works. Okay, I didn't spend 10 years researching, and though a lot of things I may forget, there's certain things that I keep talking about over and over again, and it's because it must be important. Right? Like the dark triad personality types, those that put themselves in positions of power and authority so they can exert control, they can brutalize, oppress, experiment on people. And because they're in that position of high authority, they can get away with it. Or at least they think they can get away with it. Okay? All right. So, this invention was intended to provide a technique for producing a subliminal presentation, which is inaudible to the listener, yet is perceived and demodulated, decoded by the ear for use by the subconscious mind. To provide a technique for transmitting inaudible subliminal information to the listener at the constant high level of signal strength and on a clear band of frequencies. C, to provide a technique for producing inaudible subliminal presentations to which music or other foreground programming may be added if desired. This is a very important pattern when the implications are considered. This system bypasses the conscious mind and drops the information into the subconscious in a manner that avoid any conscious filtering of the information. And I talked about this when I'm sleeping, how I used to be programmed to get up on a Saturday, go into the city, and go into this particular Barnes and Noble on 14th Street. And every time I would arrive at that Barnes and Noble, there will be two white men, perpetrators. And when they see me, they would give me the thumbs up, or they would be shaking their hand to give confirmation that the programming worked, that I did show up at the destination. And it wasn't until I began to self-reflect and think about what was happening when I started to recognize the patterns. And what do you think happened when I stopped? That very Saturday morning that I felt that urge and that thought to get dressed and go to that Barnes and Noble, I made a conscious effort to not go. And an hour later, what do you think happened? They send the fire trucks, the police, to bombard me with noise, sirens. Okay? Very loud. All right? So, like I said, I studied this. Okay? I studied. And there were times when they could have gotten rid of me, because there were times when I could have hurt somebody. But that's what they wanted. All right? That's what they wanted, because they wanted me to do something like that based off of their manipulation of my emotions, my thought patterns, so they can get rid of me. So the evidence would be no longer here. Okay? So, yeah, you sounding kind of low there, Mr. Police Officer, Mr. Predator Police. Okay? Just heard that. All right? So, the information without conscious review may in fact set up conflicts in the listener's belief system. And as I said, listeners, in other words, the messages, and they can keep doing it. Like I said, I'm just going to expose it. So those who are out there trying to understand what's really going on, keep watching these videos. In other words, the messages may not line up with the way the individual person thinks, which can lead to a number of problems. Conflicts in belief system can lead to significant emotional and psychological problems, which is why when subliminals are used, a person should know exactly what is being said. And as I said, the subliminals are used. All right, a person should know exactly what is being said to assure that the messages line up with the beliefs of that individual. A person should be able to hear or review all the words being used to reshape belief or behaviors when using these kinds of technology. Okay, and again, as I talk about behaviors and when using these kinds of technology. Light and sound system, let me repeat that, or reread that. Light and sound systems like the Sirius or Proteus device also allow for the input of a user's own recorded voice for the maximum effectiveness when the brain is otherwise being moved into an altered state by FFR. Connecting a recording through these devices allow for self-programming in creating the optimum state of awareness when utilizing, and I said awareness, while utilizing the whole brain effect. There are several methods that are being developed for changing the way the brain operates. These tools are being created and they will be used to continue to enhance the human experiments or degrade that experience. The brain, the master control of body and mind, is the target of these technologies, the impact of which will determine by the operators. Okay, so just wanted to read that because again, many people don't believe these things are happening, but they are. Okay, and let me just go to this. This is again a proof of release, all right, in 2000, CIA. This is classified. Why would they classify this? You know, this is an article from the Defense News. Okay. So apparently this probably went to press, but never made it to the newsstands or to the hands of the subscribers or those who read the Defense News. All right. So let me zoom in this a little bit. Hold on here. Let's do this. Okay. There we go. U.S. explore Russian mind control technology. Washington, the Russian government is perfecting mind control technology developed in the 1970s and could be used to hone fighting capabilities of friendly forces while demoralizing and disabling opposing troops. Now, they didn't say they were developing. They said that they had developed and they are perfecting mind control technologies developed in the 1970s. Okay? Known as acoustic psychocorrection, the capabilities to control mind and alter behavior of civilians and soldiers may soon be shared with U.S. military, medical, and political officials, according to U.S. and Russian sources. The sources said the Russian government, in the spirit of improved U.S.-Russian relations, is beginning to lift the veil of secrecy surrounding the technology. The Russian capability, demonstrated in a series of laboratory experiments dating back to the mid-1970s, could be used to suppress, listen to this now, to suppress riots, control dissidents, demoralize, as I said, control dissidents, demoralize or disable opposing forces, and enhance the performance of friendly special operations team, sources said. Pioneered by the government-funded Department of Psychocorrection at the Moscow Medical Academy, acoustic psychocorrection involved the transmission of, and as you heard, okay, I just heard a car honking, but it wasn't because of what I was reading. I literally stuck my tongue out of my mouth, right? So immediately as I stuck my tongue out of my mouth, oh, sorry, not the, I heard this, right? So again, immediately as I was speaking, I stuck my tongue out of my mouth and I heard this. Okay? So, all right, where was I? Pioneered by the government-funded Department of Psychocorrection at the Moscow Medical Academy, acoustic psychocorrection involved the transmission of specific command via static or white noise band into the human subconscious without upsetting other intellectual functions. Expert said laboratory demonstration have shown encouraging results after exposure of less than 1 minute. Moreover, decades of research and investment of untold millions of rupees in the process of psychocorrection has produced the ability to alter behavior on willing and unwilling subjects, the expert says. As I said, unwilling subject, here. Okay. It's a very short burst. It's not, right? It's this. Or even this. Very short. There you go. That's what it was. Okay. In an effort to restrict potential misuse of such capabilities, Russian senior research scientists, diplomats, military officers, and officials of the Russian Ministry of Higher Education, Science, and Technology policy are beginning to provide limited demonstration to their U.S. counterpart. Okay. Further evaluation of key technology in the United States are being planned, as are discussion aimed at creating a framework for bringing the issue under bilateral and multilateral control, U.S. and Russian sources says. So again, you know, many people have been deceived into believing and thinking that these things do not exist. Okay. Now, here is a 7-page PDF article, right? And it, again, this piece of information is extraordinary. I'll tell you that. All right, mind control from Nazis to DARPA. David Salinas Flores, right? Guest professor, faculty of human medicine, Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos, Peru. This is from Peru, okay? And again, this is, it says here, the published date was December 28, 2018, all right? So let's read the abstract, okay? Mind control is a reductive process in which a man is reduced to an animal, machine, or slave. The basic idea of mind control originated in Tavistock, and when they were developed in Germany, mainly in Dachauer's Nazi concentration camp. The Operation Paperclip recruited to the Nazi scientists who experienced the mental control of prisoners in Dachau. Thus, Nazi participated in U.S. mind control. Thus, Nazi participated in U.S. mind control programs. Nowadays, recent research give evidence of a classified U.S. world mind control weapons program in full development, organized by DARPA in illicit association with corrupt governments, American universities, technology transnationals, and mafias of prosecutors. DARPA organized crime is developing a secret, forced, and illicit neuroscientific human experimentation with invasive neurotechnology as brain nanobots, microchips, and implants to execute mind control. As I say, execute, I hear. Again, right? You know how many times they've sent me subliminal messages about being assassinated? Like I said, just do it. Just do it, because I'm not going to do it. Okay? I'm not going to do it. I'll tell you what, deposit $1 trillion in my bank account and see what happens. Okay? That is how mad, pissed off, upset I am. Deposit $1 trillion in my account. And I'm just saying that's not going to happen, because they know it too. They know. They don't want us TIs fighting on any level. Okay? They want to be able to deconstruct our life in the worst way. And so we have no support, and then they're going to get some schmuck to assassinate us, right? That's how they work, right? That's their tactics. Okay. It is necessary that world society is informed on the truth about mind control and that the honest authorities take the preventative measures to block the massive mind control that DARPA is developing in the world. Introduction. Mind control is a reductive process in which a man is reduced to an animal or machine. It is a technique aimed at suppressing the will of a person to make it dependent on what is dictated by another person or organization. Mind control weapon can be more powerful than the atomic bombs. The public knows about the power of nuclear weapons and can debate and protest about them. However, the public cannot debate about the danger of mind control programs because this program is surrounded by denial and disinformation from the many governments. The mind control has been tried through history in different ways, like the physical violence or the religion. Some governments have been obsessed with mind control, especially and those that trended to fascism, like the Nazis. For many, as I said, fascism. Okay. For many people, the mind. Oh, not. I got to get the spitting sound because now they're doing the spitting sound now. All right. The mind control is a myth. Topics of science fiction or a psychiatric disorder rather than science. However, in the 21st century, the advance in neuroscience leads to a specific reality that is opposite to such perception. Recent researchers consider that mind control should be considered a new public health problem in medicine. In reality, as I said, public here. A reality that all citizens need to know. Context. The basic idea of mind control originated in 1921 in Tavistock, a research center of the British Intelligence Service, and then they were developed in Germany, mainly during Nazi government since 1943. German military physicians working at the concentration camps Dachau and Auschwitz experiment with barbiturates, morphine, derivatives, and mescaline for interrogation purposes. Mescaline, as I said, mescaline here. Where am I again? Right, mescaline for interrogation purposes. Mescaline, a psychotic alkaloid that occurred naturally in the Mexican pepio cactus, was the main drug that Nazi scientists used. Experiments with mescaline were realized in Auschwitz, and then they were repeated in Dachau. Dachau was the first Nazi concentration camp open, and it is known for the Nazi experiments of hypothermia. In Dachau, experiments of mind control with mescaline were conducted by Dr. Kurt Plattner, who joined the SS as a physician in the 1930s. According to Walter Nerf, a prisoner's nurse involved in experiments at Dachau, the goal was to eliminate the will of the person examined. After research on 30 inmates, Plattner concluded that mescaline was too unreliable to be a true drug. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. Partner's work in the concentration camp came to the attention of American intelligence. The United States Navy intelligence officers recruited to Partner in 1945, permitting him to continue his interrogation research. Really, U.S. Army developed a big operation, the Operation Paperclip, the secret intelligence program to bring Nazi scientists to America, thus recruited too many Nazi scientists who experienced imprisoners of Dachau after the end of World War II. In fact, Partner was never indicted for his masculine experiments. He enjoyed particular protection. Partner proceeded to live under the name of Schmitz in Schleswig-Holstein into the early 1950s. He returned to the medical field as a professor at the University of Freiburg in West Germany. Partner died in 1984. American government did not have success with masculine for mind control and opt for another hallucinogen, LSD. The United States developed several mind control programs. The U.S. Navy began some of the first experiments on mind control in 1947. The first known participant by the CIA was in 1950 with the launch of Project Bluebird. However, as I say, Project Bluebird right here. However, the main program was MK Ultra. MK Ultra was the code name for a secret CIA project conducted from 1953 to 1964. As I said, 1953, right here. All right. Yeah, you guys got to excuse me sometimes because, these sound, the noise outside, it does affect your cognitive ability, right? And so I understand this. So sometimes when I'm speaking, if I hear the sirens outside or the car honking, it will distract me because I'm trying to also do the same effect that I have. And, it got to get back to where I was, sometimes forget. But, I understand why. So I'm not really hard on myself about it. So just want to explain so you guys should have an understanding, right? So please bear with me. Okay. MK Ultra was the code name of a secret CIA project conducted from 1953 to 1964 that involved mind control, drug testing, and behavioral modification. The MK Ultra program, developed by the CIA, was a program designed to perform the largest mind control experiment, an illegal and clandestine program of experiments on human subjects. The experiments included the participation of scientists in 80 renowned institutions, among them 44 schools, prestigious universities like Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, 12 hospitals, and pharmaceutical companies and jails. It was a project that included 149 sub-projects, all related to mind control. At least 139 drugs. As I said, mind control, I hear. All right, yeah. Yeah, they mind control you, and they mind control me at times, okay? But, it's very hard for them to try to get me to do what they want me to do because it's negative, and I'm not going to do it. All right, so when they fill my mind with these negative thoughts, I just have to ignore it or use my defense tactic again, which is transference of anchors and triggers into something that is more positive, right? So I do this all the time. All right, my brain is always working on countering, their negative programming. Okay, so yeah. at least 139 drugs were investigated. Although the MK Ultra project used mainly hallucinant drugs, being the LSD one of the most used drugs experimental simulation techniques of deep brain areas were also used. Nowadays, with the modern advances in science, mind control could be developed with brain nanobots, microchips, and implants, and cerebral internet. Cerebral internet is the main tool of mind control. It is a means of communication developed in a person who has in his brain invasive neurotechnology such as brain implants like the cortical modem. Now, I don't know what kind of implants that I have, but I know I have a brain implant without a doubt. Brain nanobots, a microchip with which a teletransmission of his or her daily life would be performed. This is sent via Wi-Fi to cell phones, computers, and television. The cerebral internet also said television. Yeah. All right. So why when I say television, they use the sirens? I talk about how by Pam, what she does when I'm on the computer and I have it hooked up to the television, she will come, she will just walk into the living room, look at the television, and then walk back out of the living room. Okay? Happens all the time. All right? And as I said, all the time, I hear, yeah. You know, like I said, I'm ready for this fight. Okay? Let's see if they are. All right, so the cerebral internet also allow sending audiovisual information to the brain of a person with brain nanobots. Invasive. Let me just stop right here. Again, what they can do again is create false memories, create false situation that seems real to make you believe in something negative, and which again they can use to control you, right? Or to extort money from you. Okay, so invasive technology allow obtaining the mental control of a person who bends his will to the objective of a person or organization. There are several, as I said, organization. Yeah. There are several mechanisms for can reach this objective. Direct mind control, controlling the activity of neurons. The delinquent produce stimulation or inhibition of neurons with the cerebral internet by Wi-Fi in a victim with brain nanobots and can obtain remote mind control. Indirect mind control, mind torture. The delinquent, as I said, mind torture. All right. The delinquent send audiovisual signals that can produce psychological damage to the victim with nanobots until getting to break the will of the victim and achieve that the victim accept subordination to the interests of the mafia. Extortion, the mapping of the brain obtained with cerebral implants and brain nanobots can be used to obtain private information from the citizens as their sexual life, and with this audiovisual material, the victim is extorted. Thus, the mafia of nanotechnology can get that the victim agrees to follow the mafia's orders. In the other hand, there is strong evidence that mental control is being developed by several economic powers such as China, Germany, India, and Russia's Federation. However, the main country that develops it is United States. Okay, so I'm just going to end that reading here. You guys can find this document online. It's free. Just Google mind control from Nazis to DARPA. Again, I'm going to share with you another, let's see. Okay, not this one. Here, is it this one? Let's see here. Okay, here, let's do this one, right? So again, this is the DoD intelligence agencies intel agencies look at Russia mind control technology claims. FBI considered testing on David Koresh. And I've talked about this in many of my videos, right? This is one of the very first document that I've downloaded from the CIA website. Okay, now mind you, I know they already logged in my IP address, so it didn't really matter because they already have it anyway, right? So let's talk about this. Federal law enforcement officials considered testing a Russian scientist's acoustic mind control device on cultist David Koresh a few weeks before the fiery conflagration that killed the Branch Davidian leader and more than 70 of his followers in Waco, Texas. Defense Electronics has learned. In a series of closed meetings beginning March 17 in suburban Northern Virginia with Dr. Igor Smirnov of the Moscow Medical Academy, FBI officials were briefed on the Russians' decade-long research on a computerized acoustic device allegedly capable of implanting thoughts in a person's mind without that person being aware of the source of the thought. And this, again, if you're as a TI, you've experienced this, you didn't recognize it. If you are aware of your targeting, you'll still continue to experience it. You may go through a lot of confusion. Okay, but what you have to do, and I'm gonna give you this advice, and this is what I live by this advice now, is that when you have thoughts, any negative thoughts of harming yourself or anyone else, those are not your thoughts. If you're a TI, those are not your thoughts. Those are induced thoughts because they want to get rid of you, right? And also understand how nudging works. Whenever you feel an urge to do something, whenever you're having a sort of adversarial conversation with your own mind, right? Then you need to stop what you're doing, okay? Assess yourself, right? And make sure that you're not in a situation or in a position where there are other people around you that you can do harm to yourself or them, all right? Always be aware of that, okay? So, let's see what else they said here. This stuff is on the line. So entry-level equipment and more sophisticated hardware would have to be rushed over from Russia before the device could be used in an attempt to end the standoff in Texas. How many people knew this? Okay. Technology developed under the former Soviet Union and apparently used against civilians in Afghanistan, which is why the U.S. defense and intelligence communities were well represented in the March meeting in Virginia. All right. So again, this is, they knew about this stuff. Not also that they knew about it, but they were also developing their own. Okay. Again, go research Dr. Jose Delgado, Dr. Robert Heath. All right. 2 CIA doctors and neuroscientists that were heavily into some of the grossest experiments, non-consensual human experiments that you can imagine. Okay? And these people were given medals and honors while committing some of the worst atrocities, just like the Nazis. Just like the Nazis. Okay? So let's here's a document you can find online. It's called Mind Weapons. It's 208 pages, but it has some really valuable information that you can learn about. Okay. Let's go to synthetic telepathy. Alan Miller, and as I said, let's go here. All right. So, all right. So, let's go to that. I think it was a chapter 20. Okay. All right. Listen to this now before I go on. It says this is radio implants and remote. As I got to this page here, and I said radio implants and remote control humans, brain transmitters, what they are and how they are used. Doctors in Sweden begin placing brain transmitters in the head of anesthetized, and it's not sure if I'm saying that correctly. You see, now when I start to slow my words, again, they'll start using the police sirens because, again, oh, really? So I'm going to press it again. So as I was about to press it, they use the police sirens. All right. Anyway. And now they're just doing it just to mess with me. All right. See, I know how they think. I know how their mind works. Sick bastards. The heads of anesthetized patients without the person knowledge in about 1960, right? So again, this is in Sweden now, okay? The insertion was conducted through the nostrils and took only a couple of minutes to perform. You know, like I said, I just followed the ancestors' guidance because I really wasn't going to read this, right? And I was just talking about how at times throughout the years, when I wake up in the morning and I just touch my nose and I'm in excruciating pain. All right. So remember that the nostril is a direct pathway to the brain. You don't need to cut open your skull to place a very small microchip in your brain. You just need a long needle. Right. And these chips are so advanced that they're the size of a grain of sand. All right. So, implanted device can remain in a person's head for life. The energy to activate the implant is transmitted by way of radio wave. Professor Jose Delgado wrote about the technology in physical control of the mind in 1969. Okay. The technology and its possibilities. Brain transmitters have been thought to be impossible by the majority of people and have been regulated to science fiction. The fact is that scientists developed the technology into reality at least 40 years ago. Okay, so when I talk about they lie about the advancement in science and technology, and what they do is that they do trickle down technology just as how they do trickle down economy. Okay. So you go to places like Japan, Hong Kong, and see how technologically advanced their societies are. Okay. So, again, these are showing you some of the things. All right, so here's something that they will do. Let's read this. All right, I forgot what I was looking for, but let's read this. Okay, declared mentally ill. Dr. Anne Marie Johnson at the Board of Health and Welfare referred to the letter a year later when she explained, he intensely maintained everything which he had written to the Board of Health and Welfare. He exhibits in this way obvious misconception and points clearly to the need for a psychiatric examination. The examination was conducted in 1978 by Dr. Janos Jazz, who wrote, he said that he is convinced that the device was applied in his head during an operation at Soda Jerhaset. He ought to be considered dangerous if this pattern of misconception cannot be erased. So why would he be considered dangerous? He's talking about having a microchip implanted, right? But this is what they do, right? And when they want to hide their experimentation, and also when they want to stop people from protesting, speaking out against corruption within government agencies, they are labeled with a mental illness. Okay? So, and if he begins to doubt his idea and therefore begins to have insight into his illness, he should therefore be committed to an asylum. All right? 5 years later, Dr. Lindstrom wrote, I can only confirm that some foreign objects, most likely brain transmitters, have been implanted at the base of your frontal brain and in the skull. I fully agree with Lincoln Lawrence, who in his book on page 27 wrote, there are two particular dreadful procedures that have been developed. Those working and playing with them secretly call them RHIC and EDOM. Radio hypnotic cerebral control and electronic, as I said, in the word in and intra here, and electronic dissolution of memory. The patient wrote to both the doctors and the Board of Health and Welfare General Director, Barbara Westerholm, and include a copy of Dr. Lindstrom's declaration. However, none of them desire to answer, which indicate both the Board of Health and Welfare attitudes towards the issue and even the doctor's guilt. Okay? The above photograph are of brain transmitters. The above one on the left is an enlargement taken from an X-ray. The above picture on the right was taken from an operation to remove the implant. The above one on the right shows the shape of the most usual type of brain transmitters. It looks like a bullet and is put in place through the nose. This device was inserted during an operation at Soda Jerhaset in Stockholm by Dr. Kurt Strand at the end of the 1960s. Okay? And Dr. Jose Delgado in the 60s was also engaging in the same non-consensual human experimentation. Okay? Without the knowledge or consent of the patient. It was placed just underneath the brain. This implant is the same shape on both sides, and its actual length is 16 millimeters or 0.62 inch, with a width of 7 millimeters or 0.27 inch. The above picture to the left shows the brain transmitter, which has the shape of a mushroom. It was implanted through the surgical opening in the forehead. Its actual size is 7 nanometer, 0.27 inch across the head, while the stem is 4 millimeter, 0.16 inch. Most implant victims are unaware of the device because they are sedated during the procedure. Then they are as amnesic, monitored, and controlled. However, there are some disclosure. All right, so I didn't actually read what I wanted to read, but this is fine. Like I said, sometimes I just got to go with the ancestors and what they're showing me. All right, because again, it is my purpose, one of my purpose, to expose what's being done. All right. So there was an article I do want to. Here you go, not an article, but a declassified document. And I need you guys to listen to this, okay? Because I always remember this. I mean, I used to paste this all over Facebook, okay? So, it's specialist suggestion for combating phobia over psycho weapons, right? Extract. It would be tempting to turn psychological weapons against one's own people and make millions of them forget about discontent with the system of social inequalities, about the struggle for peace, and about their civil rights. Oppressed but joyful, Black people. Fleeced by monopolies but content with everything, Black people. Wouldn't this be the ideal citizen from the point of view of the ruling circle in countries of the West? This, what newspapers of ours wrote quite recently about MK Ultra, an ultra secret program of American intelligence which was aimed at turning people into zombies in masses. But we now know that we ourselves have not escaped such brainwashing. Stories about design bureaus at which instruments have been developed for producing long distance effect on the human mind has begun to appear in the press. Among the mail that we receive from our readers have been a trickle of letters which mention individual brainwashing by mysterious psychological weapons. Vladimir Nikotovich Voshchenko is a professor of the Moscow State Technical University's imeni Bauman and deputy chairman of the USSR Union of Scientific and Engineering Societies. Committees on bioenergy information processing bioenergy information. He took part in preparing materials on the question of protecting citizens against psychological terror for the RSFSR Supreme Soviet. So, in a lot of my videos, you see me label them state-sponsored terrorism or state-sponsored psychological harassment, because it is state-sponsored. Okay? And you have agencies such as the so-called police departments, but I call them the predator departments. These are the low-level enforcers, right? The ones who are sent out to spread the rumors, to make the threats, the psychological or the coercive threats, right? You also will have, agencies like the FBI, okay, who wants to be like the CIA, wants to go talk to scientists from other countries to use weapons that manipulate the human mind, right? And then you have the agencies like the CIA who engage, again, also in non-consensual human experimentation, all right? And then you have the Defense Department, DARPA, right? Which, again, in order to avoid accountability, will give millions of dollars to universities, private sectors to engage in the further development of the research that DARPA started. Okay? And some of these agencies are doing unscrupulous things, experimenting again on individuals, non-consensually, of course. And therefore, if it comes to light, DARPA walks away, unscathed, right? They can always claim plausible deniability, okay? But we know that they're the ones that are allowing these things to happen for the sake of research and development. Okay. Okay. Let me just finish reading this. Okay. For such case to become fewer, people must first be rescued from psychological terror, which is now occurring, says Volchensko. The term psychological terror refers to factors which adversely affect human consciousness. Politics and ideology are not the only ones which should be mentioned. Among the rest of, again, I said the only ones. So now I start. Lately they've been using the sirens whenever I say the number one, just like today, right? Earlier today, I think, right? Or was it? What time is it? Well, yesterday. Okay, go back and watch my video from yesterday. All right. In one of the videos, I think I think it was the license plate that had the number one, or was it spelled one? And then there was a guy. As soon as I walked and I felt the urge to look, again being put through fixation drill. Was he? He was saying. I think he was saying the number one also. Okay, you got to go and look though. Yeah. So anyhow, among the rest are hypnosis shows at stadiums and on television. Kasparowski came hundreds of his followers who have been given similar performances. The trouble is not even that many of these therapists are elementary acquisitors who are out to make easy money in a hurry. This is a topic for a separate conversation. The danger lies elsewhere. Mass sessions of this kind have a substantial impact on the hypnotized ability of millions of televiewers. The sessions heightens it, and this means that the viewers stand a greater chance of being turned into zombies. Okay? All right. So I am going to let's see, is there anything else that I needed to talk about? All right. So here's another classifier that talks about, again, mind control. Let's see. Okay, here's a declassified, again, document. All right. A special Nazis, the Vatican, and the CIA. What do we got? As I said, the CIA, I hear. Okay, they're really going all out tonight. Again, they don't like it when I do these shows. That's whenever I get to my computer. If there's a chance that they think that I'm going to do a video like this. Ooh, my mic stand almost fell. Excuse the noise. So, yeah, so whenever I sit down on my computer, and excuse the noise, I'm just trying to tighten this thing. I don't know what happened there. Hopefully that wasn't too noisy. Let's bring that forward. All right. Sorry about that. But what was I going to say? Yeah, so whenever they think I may do a video like this, whenever I turn on my computer, they'll always use the police siren. I mean, all the time. Whether I get up in the morning or whatever time I get in, as I hit that button on my computer, they're using the police sirens, right? Again, to deter me from doing videos like this, because obviously, I can show you guys exactly where I get the information from. You guys can find it and share the information with others, and they don't want that, because the more people who become aware of this, okay, is the more people that they can no longer manipulate and to try to bring under coercive control. Okay? This is what they've been up to. And particularly as a black person, knowing all of this and seeing within my own targeting how we are all being manipulated, and the fact that I can see the manipulation, whether it be in the movies, on television, on social media, they don't like that at all. They don't like that. Okay? Sporting events, stuff like that, they do not like that, because I can see how it is that they are brainwashing the American public using these methods and these tactics. All right. And so I think there was either today or yesterday, there was a vehicle with the license plate SEE. All right. So like I said, the more you do your research, learn about the past, research about the things that's happening in the present, not only will you have insight, but you will also develop foresight, because you'll get into their mindset, right? Analyze them. And this is what they hate. They can analyze you, they can label you, but you're not supposed to analyze them and label them, right? Why is that? Because the dog tribe personality types, right? We're talking about the narcissistic personality trait, the sociopathic personality trait, and the psychopathic personality trait, all wrapped into one mind, right? Or the mind of a person. Okay? And when they are put in positions of power, it is a recipe for disaster and all sorts of crimes. But here's the thing, and I talk about this, right? What they will do, again, within the society is to create more people like them. So when you look at society today, particularly in America, more Americans today have a higher narcissistic personality or have more narcissistic personality traits than before, right? So, and this is my opinion, I would say the average American have about 3, okay? Not 3, I meant to say 4, have about 4 of the narcissistic personality trait, because it goes all the way to 7. And that's high. 4 is high. It used to be 3, right? But 4 is high, okay? And we're getting to the point where it's going to get to 5, all right? We're living in a society where we all are being conditioned with narcissistic personality traits, all right? And you can see that mostly today in women, because women are being manipulated to the point where they are becoming more, displaying more narcissistic tendencies than men. Okay? You gotta think about these things. It's important. We as older people, we have to teach the younger people exactly what's going on. Teach them what you didn't know, what you know now. Okay? And as I said, teach them what you didn't know, what you know now. You hear? So this video is going up, despite all the the coercive threats that they are engaging in, this video will be going up on YouTube. Okay, so I will speak to you guys on the next Target Individual program, Target Individual Experience.